basically today, what I want to go over is pretty much, I just want to answer all unanswered questions, okay? I want to go deep into your mind. I want to ease your mind. I want to give you clarity. I want to kind of help you figure out why you're feeling what you're feeling, what to do when you feel it, and just kind of give you peace of mind in that sense, okay? At the beginning of the week, I asked you guys what you wanted me to talk about this week on the coaching call. So I listened, I picked out the best questions, and I'm going to answer them and go really, really in depth, okay? Because if one person says it, usually at least 10 people are thinking it, right? So first and foremost, who has heard that lifting weights or resistance training can make you bulky? Who's heard that before? Or make you look manly? Has anybody heard that before? A little rumor around? So that is a common misconception, okay? So people associate if they start touching a weight or they start working out more often, they feel like they're gonna bulk up, they're gonna get too broad, too wide, and then they're gonna start to look manly, okay? Is anybody afraid of that? Does anybody still believe that on some level? No, we're all kind of, okay, beautiful. So we all know that that's not true. So here's the thing, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I had one of our Academy Fit Queens say she's feeling like she's beginning to look too manly. She thinks she's put on too much muscle and she looks manly, okay? And my response was, you haven't put on as much muscle as you think, okay? Because if you guys remember, losing fat happens faster than gaining muscle, okay? That's why it takes longer to get a nice hourglass shape. You can lose weight, but you won't be happy if you just lose weight, right? So building muscle takes longer. Now, why does she think she looks manly? Well, simply because she's been with us long enough where she has lost a lot of body fat. She's dropped to a very, very low body fat percentage. Now, what does that do? That reveals the body you had all along. That reveals what was going on underneath all the fat, okay? So if you're feeling you look manly or you're starting to look manly, all that means is that your body fat is decreasing, which is a good thing. Now we can see what you're working with, your natural frame, not with any padding on it, your natural frame. And then we just continue to add resistance training to shape the body you want. Okay, so number one, females do not produce enough testosterone to make us look bulky, to gain a huge amount of muscle where we look like a man or we look like those bodybuilders, okay? If you're seeing a woman and she's extremely, extremely muscular, chances are she is on some type of performance enhancement drug or some type of steroid, okay? So if you feel like, you know, maybe my arms are getting too manly or whatever it may be, that's a good sign because you're getting to a low body fat percentage and you're revealing the body that you've already had. You have it. Okay, it's not like you created a manly body, you had a manly body. Why? Because we have a lack of muscle. As women, we do not have a high amount of muscle mass because our testosterone is low. So our body doesn't have a whole lot of curves naturally, unless you're Brazilian, right? So, or an Italian nonna. So it's okay if, you know, if you're on your weight loss journey and your body's going through different phases, right? At first, you're going to start to decrease weight and you're going to start to show off your shape. Then when you decrease your weight even further, so you burn more fat, you're going to notice that you don't have a whole lot of curves that you're naturally working with, right? And then phase 3 is the building phase, okay? So too many people give up in that middle phase before they get a chance to reap the rewards of what resistance training can actually do. It actually gives you such a beautiful feminine look. Like, have you guys all been scrolling through Instagram, seen like some type of fitness model and just been like, wow, you know, she works out and she has beautiful curves. Like, we've all seen a body that, you know, they've been working out and they have beautiful curves. So that's what we're working for, building your own beautiful curves. But first we have to cut the fat, okay? And it's not that your body is changing into something you don't like. It's revealing what your body always was. And now that you've revealed it, now you're going to be able to see the changes better because you don't have any padding over top, okay? So number one, you're not going to get bulky by resistance training. And number two, you have to really be in the process for a while to start to build the shape that you want, okay? You're going to lose weight. You're going to feel great. You're going to feel sexy. You're going to fit back into clothes like Miss Marta is, okay? It's going to happen and you're going to feel great. But there comes a point where you're in this like weird in-between phase. You ever cut your hair really short and then regret it because you're in this like in-between phase between short and long? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about? So you're in this weird in-between phase with your hair, just like you are with your body. And it's, what does it take, ladies? Consistency. What does it take? Just following through, trusting the process. Stop skipping from program to program because you don't like what you're seeing or you're not seeing anything. It's a process. Fat burning happens faster than muscle building, okay? So that was the number one question I got and I really wanted to go into was the whole bulky and resistance training. Now I want to go into weight fluctuations, okay? Has anybody gone on the scale like 7 days a week before? Has anybody gone on the scale every day for a week before, or maybe every other day or 3 times a week? So sometimes we get really excited, so we want to weigh ourselves because we feel really lean when we wake up. Or sometimes we had a cheat and you want to see how much damage it did, right? And we get so tempted by the scale to just peek and see what it says, right? Like everybody, it's always there. You know, the scale is a great tool to measure progress, but it can also be really difficult for us to not obsess over. So it's really hard to break that relationship. And you still, to some degree, have a slight unhealthy relationship with the number on the scale. Can anybody agree with that? To some degree, we're still a little bit of a slave to a number, right? So the point here is, it's really tempting to want to always check that number because we think that number is the be all end all and tells us how we've been behaving, right? And 90% that's true, okay? But the other 10% is not true, right? That's why we have all these measuring tools for motivation. Now, if you find yourself tempted to go on the scale every day, I would really, or maybe more than once a week, okay? Because it only should be once a week. Once a week is all you need, okay? You got 7 days in between, 7 days for your body to burn all those calories, 7 days for your hormones to even out, your bloating to even out, and then you get the most accurate reading after 7 days, okay? But if you find yourself tempted to look at the scale, or you find yourself getting emotionally attached to a number, so whether it's you're excited it's going down, or you're upset it's not going down, or you're upset it's staying still, if you have an emotion to your number on the scale, you have to ask yourself why. Because right now, everybody has some type of emotion attached to that number every Sunday. Is that right? We get happy or we get sad every Sunday, right? Every time we step on, we get happy or sad at that number, okay? So that tells you that you're having an emotional connection to the scale. Okay. But like I've said, you're going to fluctuate a lot. Okay. So, I mean, I can go up literally like 10 pounds in one day with bloating and water retention. And if I have a big meal or if I'm constipated, like I could go up 10 pounds in one day. And if I stepped on the scale, it would ruin me. It used to ruin me. Like downward spiral. I'd throw out my entire day. I'd be like, fuck it. It was a bad number. I'll just restart tomorrow. Right? Who's done that before? I'll just restart tomorrow. How do we trick ourselves into doing that? How do we do that every time? Okay, I had one cookie. Might as well eat the whole box. How does that make sense? How do we justify that, right? But having an emotional attachment to the scale creates habits like that. Okay, so when you step on the scale every Sunday, ladies, I want you to kind of talk to yourself beforehand. Okay, all the scale is supposed to be used for is an objective measurement. Objective. It goes down, you followed it. It doesn't go down, you didn't follow something. That's all it's telling you. It's not telling you you're a failure. Okay, it's not telling you you sucked. It's not telling you you're never going to reach your goals. It's just stating a fact. And you can't get emotional about facts because facts are facts and feelings are feelings. You can't get emotional about a fact, and getting emotional about a fact can't change the fact. Is this making sense, guys? So number one, it's very normal for your weight to fluctuate day to day. That's why we only weigh ourselves once a week. And number two, I want you guys to start really paying attention to your reaction every Sunday. Okay, do you get butterflies on your stomach before you step on the scale? Does anybody get butterflies before they step on the scale? They get a little nervous, or they're like, oh my, or do they pray and cross their fingers? Or do you suck your stomach in or take off every article of clothing, right? We're still a little bit of a slave to it, right? And I don't want there to be emotion involved, okay? If you had a good week, if you believe in your soul that you followed everything, there's absolutely nothing to be nervous about. You already know what the scale is going to say. It's going to have gone down, right? So we got to break that emotional connection, okay? Yes, we're not obsessed with the scale. You guys all have a healthier relationship than most women, because most women like live and die by the scale. But we have to take it one step further and look at it objectively. It's just a measuring tool, okay? Now, having said that, next topic, and I think this is really, really important, okay? Good pain versus bad pain. Good pain versus bad pain. Who's had good pain when they work out? I hope everybody, right? Who has had bad pain when they work out? Who knows the difference? So there is a difference, okay? And here's the thing. Good pain is absolutely essential for growth, okay? You need to be putting yourself in pain's way, even emotionally, like putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and physically, okay? So talking in the realm of workouts, you need to have uncomfortable pain. There needs to be burning. There needs to be heavy breathing, okay? There needs to be struggling and tiring. There needs to be a good pain for there to be growth and progress, okay? I'm pretty sure we all know this, right? If you end your workout and you didn't feel anything, you don't feel very accomplished, right? It's almost disappointing. If you didn't break a sweat or you didn't feel a burn or you don't feel tired, you get disappointed, right? And there's a reason for that, okay? You didn't find that good pain, okay? Now, having said that, the line between good pain and bad pain is very, very small. That line is very small. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Does anybody have any finicky joints or previous injuries that always act up, or maybe arthritis, right? That good pain and that bad pain, they're like very, very close, okay? So here are some descriptions of good versus bad, okay? So good pain is usually burning. It's usually a burn in the muscle, a burning in the lungs because you're breathing heavy, something that is quite painful if you push it till failure, but not going to do damage except to the muscle. And that's what we want. We want to damage the muscle so it can repair and grow and be stronger. So pretty much, if you're wondering if it's good versus bad, good pain is going to be burning, okay? Now, bad pain, okay? Bad pain is pinching, is popping, it's shooting pain, okay? Now, it's also clicking. Does anybody have any joints that click every now and then? Click or pop or hyperextend? Okay, so here's the thing about that. A couple reasons that's happening, okay? First and foremost, it just means your joints usually it means your joints misaligned, right? So if you have a knee joint, right, and it's like this, okay, and it's cracking, it's usually not in the right place. It's usually maybe like this. So it should be like this. It's probably like this, okay? I'm exaggerating it, but it's out of alignment just because, let's say the muscles in here are too weak to pull you here, and the muscles on this side are too strong and pull you this way. So there's muscular imbalances. So we fix that popping and that cracking by just strengthening and balancing out the muscles, okay? So cracking is normal, but cracking should not be painful, okay? If you're cracking without pain, you can keep going. If you're cracking with pain, you're going to have to slow it down and change your range of motion. Is this making sense, guys? Has anybody kind of been worried about their cracking or wondering what it was? So it's really not a big deal unless there's some pain behind it, okay? And usually there's not. Like my knees will pop when I go too low in a squat too fast. It's not painful. It's just a reminder that I need to take my time, right? Because I want to balance out that kneecap. So good pain versus bad pain. And let me tell you, it's easy to confuse good pain as bad pain because our bodies like to take the path of least resistance. Right? Have you ever found yourself slowing down near the end of a workout, especially if you're by yourself? You guys slow down near the end of the workout, or maybe you don't do that extra rep that you know you should, or maybe you give up halfway through. So usually good pain requires somebody yelling at you to push through because it's very, very uncomfortable, right? But it's much easier to focus on the bad pain than the good pain because like I was saying, we take the path of least resistance, and because of that we slow down and we convince ourselves that all pain is bad. Has anybody kind of been stuck in that worrying phase? Like all pain is bad. Oh, I don't want to feel this, especially if you've been injured in the past. You are very, very scared. Okay. So I want you guys to look out for good pain. Okay. Search for good pain, try to find the good pain and stay in the good pain. And I want you to pay attention to the bad pain, adjust and adapt so you don't feel it, okay? If there's bad pain, that means there's something wrong. And that means you have to usually just stay within your pain-free range of motion. But most importantly, there's that in-between pain that you're not really sure what it is, or maybe not even call it pain, just a feeling, a tingling, something, a feeling that you're not sure what it is. Just pay attention, slow the movement down, increase your range of motion. See how you respond, okay? See how you feel versus how you think you feel. Because again, we create the path of least resistance. It's our natural instinct. We're wired as humans to take the easy way out, to take the path of least resistance. So we've become very good at avoiding pain and very good at making things easy, right? We only want to do one trip in with all the groceries, when it would be easier to do two, but we still just do one, because we're taking the path of least resistance, right? So I want you to really, really wonder and pay attention to what you're feeling and which category it falls under, okay? A lot of the bad pain you think is bad is usually good pain. And maybe some of that good pain is considered bad pain, okay? That you've just been pushing yourself so hard for so long, having an ego saying, I'm gonna do it, screw my pain and keep going. Like, who's stubborn when it comes to pain? Who's stubborn and will keep pushing? Yeah. Especially as women, we usually have a very high pain tolerance and we push through it sometimes when we shouldn't. Like, I remember when I was in high school, I was on the cross country team and I was running a race and we were running through the forest and I was in first place and I was like killing it and I was crushing it. And then I stepped on a tree root and I heard a snap. And it wasn't the tree root that snapped. It was my foot that snapped. One of the bones in my foot snapped from the way I stepped on it. And I still kept running. Okay. And I shouldn't have, because that pushed me out longer than if I would have just stopped and recovered properly. Okay. So when we have these conversations, workout wise, diet wise, it's all about adjusting yourself so that you can make it sustainable long term. And not just that the habits you can do long term, but your body can actually keep up with it long term. Right. Because you don't want to be broken and cracking and hunched over and tight. We don't want that. We don't want our bodies to turn into that, which is very possible if you don't pay attention to the quality of your movement and the types of pain that you're feeling. Does that make sense, guys? Is this resonating with anybody? Is anybody going to kind of change the way that they work out based on this? Okay. Now, along the lines of pain, okay, I want to quickly touch on sciatica and back pain. Who has sciatica or back pain or nerve damage, or know somebody with it? Sciatica is one of the most common workout injuries or just life injuries because you get it from sitting, okay? So here's the thing about sciatica. And if you don't have sciatica and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be boring, you can go tell someone, because I guarantee you know somebody in your life with sciatica, you can tell them this and blow their mind, okay? So sciatica, basically it's just pain in the sciatic nerve, okay? Usually something is happening where you're pushing on the sciatic nerve and it's causing pain. Okay, very simply, very, very uncomfortable. There's very little movements that you can do when you have a flare up because it's in your hip and up your back and down your leg, and any movement really triggers it. But here's the thing, okay? Sciatica is only permanent when you have a lower back injury, when you have actual injury to your lower back discs, okay? So knowing that, does anybody actually have an injury like degeneration of discs, herniations in their lower back? Couple people, one person. Okay. So sciatica is only permanent when you have that. If you have sciatica and you have no disc problems, it is fixable and it is curable and you can get rid of the pain. Isn't that nice? So you can blow someone's mind with that. You can be like, did you know? So, and a lot of the times, and this is why this is what I find so hard, guys. Doctors will tell you so many things are permanent. Is anybody else freaking fed up with that? Like anything you get diagnosed with, it's permanent. High blood pressure, permanent. High cholesterol, permanent. Diabetes, permanent. Arthritis, permanent. Disc degeneration, permanent. And then it just deflates us because we put our trust in their doctors, right? But it's just, there's so much that exercise and nutrition, proper food can heal. Okay. So I really encourage you guys to, if you do have any medical conditions or you know anybody who does, really important to not always take your doctor's word at face value. Get second opinions, different doctors, different medical professionals, health professionals, because it really is demotivating. Like, we have a lot of fit queens with disc degenerations, with arthritis, with like meniscus tears, with all these injuries that are totally manageable, but doctors blow them so out of proportion for majority of the people when it's not as big of a deal as they make it out to be, right? So sciatica, definitely fixable if you do not have any damage to your lumbar spine, to your lower back discs, which is really, really cool. How do you fix it? Or if you don't have it, ladies, how do you avoid sciatica or lower back pain or pinching nerves? Because if you haven't had sciatica, you've probably had a pinched nerve. So anybody who doesn't have sciatica, have you felt a pinched nerve before? Or maybe like you hit your funny bone or your feet fall asleep, kind of along the same lines, just different degrees of discomfort. So usually, okay, when a nerve is pinched, okay, couple things, usually something is out of alignment. So this is where the chiropractor comes in handy. They can pull things back into place. Has anybody been to a chiropractor before? Been adjusted? Some people, yes, some people no. Some people some people don't like it. But chiropractors will just kind of pop you back into place so you're functioning properly in your joints. A lot of the time, this is a cool fact, and you guys are gonna think about it and obsess over it when you start walking. A lot of the times, just based on our day-to-day activities, we favor one side. And because of that, one side is tighter than the other. And because of that, one of our legs shrinks. One of our legs kind of hikes up a little bit. So right now, my right leg feels like half an inch longer than my left leg right now. Has anybody noticed this before or been told this? Yeah. And now you guys are going to go walk and you're going to be walking like penguins. You're going to freak out. You're like, oh my God, I feel it. So that's normal. And that's because I haven't been to a chiropractor lately because of the quarantine. So my legs my hips shifted and it makes my legs uneven, which makes it harder to squat. And it requires a lot more thinking. So chiropractors will adjust you, get things moving in the proper plane of motion they're supposed to. And then this is the key here, guys. Too many people think chiropractors are a solution, but it's chiropractors with exercise that fix the problem, okay? The chiropractor will move you back into the right place, but by you exercising and strengthening the right muscles, the muscles hold you in the right place so you don't pop out as often or shift as often. Does that make sense? Is that clear? So that's why I'm a big advocate of referring and networking and communicating with all kinds of health professionals because we can all work together, right? So a massage therapist would release your muscle. Go to a chiropractor. Now that your muscle is released, chiropractor can put you back into position easier. Then once in your back, you come to a trainer and we strengthen you and hold you in that position. And then the cycle repeats. Is this making sense? It's cool to think of. You need all of it in balance, okay? But that's pretty much what's happening when you get nerve pinches or pains or things like that. And it is definitely fixable, okay? You just have to be willing to accept that it's fixable, okay? A lot of the times when we are in pain or discomfort, it kind of clouds our emotions, it clouds our judgment, and then we just go based on feelings. Like, I feel like I've been in pain forever. I feel like I've tried everything and nothing works. Right? And then we just stop looking for a solution and we become victims. And then we just complain about our pain instead of trying to find a solution for our pain. Okay. So one of the fit queens asked about sciatica. That's my little blurb. Next question, late night munchies. Who's a late night snacker? Let's see those hands. Most people are. So late night snacking. First and foremost, late night snacking. If you are late night snacking or if you feel like you're late night snacking, why are you up so late, right? A healthy lifestyle is not just nutrition. It's not just exercise. It's stress management and sleep, proper sleep. It's four legs on a chair to have a balanced chair. If you're missing one, your chair gets wobbly. So number one, I would say, look at your sleep schedule, okay? Is that not as structured as it should be? Do you watch that one extra episode of Netflix when you know you should have gone to sleep, but you really wanted to see what happened, right? So check your sleep structure, okay? You shouldn't be up so late. Unless obviously you're shift working and your job requires it. But other than that, you need to get a routine in your sleep schedule, and it needs to be consistent 7 days a week. Okay. And this is why I say this. For so long, I woke up at 8 a.m. and I'd go to bed at 10 p.m. Decent hours, right? But then weekends, I would sleep in till 11 a.m. and stay up till 12 p.m. So all the work I put during the week to get my body on track, get my body used to a routine, okay? Get my body comfortable in a routine, finally actually fall asleep at those times and have good, comfortable sleep. I then blew it all on the weekend. So I programmed myself during the week and then I unprogrammed myself on the weekend. So it was worth nothing. So what you do on the week has to be the same as the weekend. Has anybody started to realize this or started to adjust this? I know my Academy Queens are really going to understand the importance of this, especially if you want long-term results, because nothing changes when you reach your goal. So you need to start to accept the process and realize that the only way you're going to start, it's going to be easier, or the only way you're going to start to actually enjoy it is just by practice. Okay. So late night munchies has a lot to do with your sleep schedule. Okay. Number two, if you do have, or you crave late at night, or you just find yourself more hungry late at night, I would suggest you don't start your first meal till later in the day. Okay. So for me, what I found works for me is I don't usually have my first meal in the day until between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. That's just what works for me. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, but I don't eat until later in the day. That just works for me, okay? I'm not telling you that that's gonna work for you, but if you do have late night cravings, pushing off your meals means you get to eat later. You get to have that last meal later in the day, so that can kind of curb your craving in the moment, okay? Or you can save your shake for later in the day, or most important, ladies, just go to bed. If you're hungry, just go to bed. Just have a quick shower, brush your teeth, so you're not tempted to eat anything, right? When I'm craving, I brush my teeth and I put my retainer in because I'm not going to eat with my retainer in, right? And then just shut your door and go to bed, okay? Munchies and snacking very rarely ever comes from actually being hungry or your body actually needing food. Can we attest to that? When you're snacking, does your body actually need food? Really? No. What are you doing? You're just bored. You got nothing to do, or you're procrastinating. You should be working, or you should have gone for a run, or you got to go grocery shopping. You have something on your to-do list that you usually don't want to do, right? So, it's not about throwing a bunch of tips and tricks at you to change this behavior. It's about realizing where this behavior is stemming from and strategically approaching it the next time it happens. And this goes for any behavior, not just snacking, but it can go towards, if you find yourself talking yourself out of working out on time, or talking yourself out of meal prepping, right? Or filling out for the Academy Queens, filling your weekly schedule we have. Like, there's lots of different areas that this applies to, okay? Because really and truly, there's nothing stopping you. It's just your mind and you not being strong enough in the moment to resist. And why aren't you strong enough? Because you haven't been practicing, okay? We think there's something magical that's going to happen one day and we're going to be superwoman and be able to finally stick to something once and for all. But that's not the case. If you want, ladies, if you want a big butt, what do you do? If you want a big butt, what do you do? Comment. If you want to grow your butt, what do you have to do? Usually a lot of squats, a lot of glute work, right? If you want to be consistent in something, what do you have to do? You practice being consistent. We forget that part. We think it just comes automatically. And then we forget that when we're not consistent, we don't just stop. That's when it matters the most. That's when you have to put into practice your consistency, because you don't get to practice consistency when you're motivated, because that's easy. Practicing consistency happens when the motivation is gone, or your bad behaviors start to show up, or your triggers show up, right? So really ask yourself, where are these habits stemming from? Do I need this? Do I need that? Am I lying to myself? Okay. Has anybody had any revelations about the things that they tell themselves, or a phrase that they stopped telling themselves, or an excuse that they finally realized? If you've had any revelations, especially the Academy Queens, because you've been doing this longer, what have you stopped telling yourself? Or what have you realized was an excuse? Right? So an example, like munchies don't mean you're hungry, it means you're bored. So what have you guys realized? Okay, let me see some comments while I go on to the next question. Okay, now this is going to be awesome. So I had a lady ask, why is it so hard to lose weight when I turned 50 as opposed to when I was 20? Has anybody else found it harder the older you get? Couple people, yeah. So, a lot of times when I'm dealing with clients, they will say, I just can't get it off. I just don't know why this weight is coming on. It used to be so easy. I just had to not eat for a week and then I dropped 20 pounds, right? Used to be easier when you were younger. So here's the thing. I want to debunk that myth. And you know why? Because the fitness and health industry has completely victimized women 40 plus. They've completely victimized you. They've completely enabled you, and it's doing more harm than good, okay? They talk about menopause and hormonal issues and your metabolism slowing down, and it's not your fault. And that's all wrong, okay? The only truth as to why it's harder to lose weight now than when it was when you're younger, who wants to take a guess? Who wants to take a guess? Mackie, what do you think it is? Hey, it's like Mackie's been listening to me for a while. Who else wants to take a guess without reading Mackie's comment? Less active? Yep, I'm on the right path. So the only reason when you get older, you are struggling to lose weight compared to how it used to be is because you have less muscle mass, period. And we know that less muscle mass equals slower metabolism. Slower metabolism equals less calories burned. So your eating habits may have stayed the exact same, but your amount of calories you burn in a day has gone down. So even though your food has stayed the same, your calorie expenditure went down. So you have extra calories. You're in a calorie surplus, and that's how you gain weight. Doesn't matter the amount of calories, 1 calorie, you're still gaining weight, right? And when you get older, there's 2 things. So number 1, you've gone a long time without consistently exercising or consistently doing the right thing to build muscle to speed up your metabolism. Okay, speeding up your metabolism has not been your goal for how many years you've been alive. If you're 30 years old, you haven't been trying to maximize your metabolism for 30 years old. So that's the first problem, right? We haven't been training to prepare ourselves for this moment. Second problem is that when we do hit a certain age, I believe it is 40, our muscle mass decreases by a certain percentage. So every year we lose a percentage of muscle mass from aging, okay? So not only are you less active, yes, but you have less muscle mass, okay? So not only have you not been increasing your muscle mass, you're now even decreasing your muscle mass. So it's not even, you can't even just get by with doing the bare minimum, because now the bare minimum holds you here, but you're still lowering. So it's a downward slope, and your metabolism gets slower and slower and slower. That's why if you talk to your grandmother and she says, oh, I used to be so small in my 20s, and she's like a size 0 in her 20s, but she's like an XXXL now, it's because she didn't make it a priority to build muscle in her youth. And now that age hit, she didn't have the foundation and she's losing muscle rapidly. That's it, okay? Yes, your hormones may be imbalanced. Yes, some things happen with age. Yes, you're less active. Yes, maybe your body's slower. Your joints are more achy. They all contribute to your mental state and how much activity you can do. But it just boils down to your metabolism. And it's like 99.9999% muscle mass. That's all it is, right? Is this making sense, guys? So I don't want, for those of you who are still young, I don't want you to fear getting older, okay? You should only fear getting older if you plan on not continuing to do resistance training, if you continue to not have a coach to coach you through those times, right? There's no reason to fear getting older. In fact, If you look at all the science we have now and you look at all the advancements we made, 50 is the new 30. Can I get an amen? 50 is the new 30. Okay? People are healthier, fitter, have more muscle mass, are stronger, more energized at 50 now than they were ever before. So 50-year-olds, if they're doing it right, are feeling like they're 30. Their bodies cellularly and biologically look like they're 30. And that's awesome. Is that not nice? You don't have to freak out when the number keeps climbing. It's literally only a number. It's only a number because science says we're going to see the first person to live up to like 150, 200 years old in our lifetime. That's how close we are. So it's not downhill. You could literally turn 50 and not even be halfway through your life. So it's not downhill from 50. If you've prepared yourself or you're working on yourself now, it's not downhill. You're combating that aging and that metabolism slowing down. So I really want to get that drilled into people's head because I think the media really disables you guys. Like it's really damaging your mentality around getting older, right? Like, oh, don't ask a woman her weight. Don't ask a woman her age. She'll get offended. But if you're happy with where you are, if you know you're healthy, if you know that you're in a good place, you should be like, yeah, I'm 70. And people will be like, damn. Do you know what I mean, guys? Like, I don't know where this embarrassment about our age came around. Age literally means nothing. Means nothing. Especially since we're living longer and not just increasing our life expectancy, but increasing our life quality for longer, right? So, you know, your parents, your grandparents, they're older right now. They probably are not the healthiest, right? They're deteriorating. They're slow. They're on a bunch of different medications, right? But this generation, there's no excuses. We have so much knowledge and guidance and coaches to make sure that doesn't happen to us. So you don't have to have someone wiping your ass at 70 years old. You can still twist and do it yourself. Okay? Next question. Now, based on that, guys, does anybody have any comments, any questions? Did that bring up any points anybody wants me to clarify on? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Let me see what everybody is saying. So someone's asking, can you still build that muscle during your 50s? Good question. So, perfect scenario, you spend your whole youth building muscle. So when you do hit that age and you start to decrease your muscle mass, you have way more to draw from, right? Best case scenario. But you're not totally screwed if you just started your process in your 30s or your 40s, or if you even just started in your 50s or 60s. You're not screwed. You still started and you can still build muscle mass, okay? So don't think because you missed out on all those years that you screwed yourself over, okay? There's still lots of potential for you, okay? What does that mean? 40s are the new 20s? Yeah, 40 is the new 20. You can feel that way. I know you guys I know you have that one person in your life who looks 20 years younger than they actually are. I know everybody knows one person like that. And it's not a fluke. It's achievable. Okay? Ashley says it helps her anxiety. That's awesome. That's what I'm trying to do here. You know, everything is just so confusing. Everything is just like overcrowded with information. It is very confusing to determine what is right. And then once you figure out what's right, then you have to figure out how do you even do it. And then when you figure out how to do it, you have to figure out how to keep doing it. Like it can all seem very, very overwhelming. Like who gets overwhelmed? Who has little spouts of overwhelm still? Like sometimes it just builds up, and then we have to calm ourselves down. Right? That's the process. But especially with our Academy Fit Queens, you guys now know the process. So, you know, if you feel that anxiety, you know where that anxiety is coming from. You have the knowledge to rationalize why you shouldn't feel anxious. And then you just keep moving forward. Okay? If you don't have a coach, if you don't have a structured routine, that anxiety builds up, but you don't have the knowledge to rationalize why you shouldn't feel anxious. And that's the difference between pushing through your goals and stopping halfway. Is this making sense? Because when you feel overwhelmed, you don't act. You stopped acting because overwhelm decreases your clarity. And when you're unclear, you don't know what path to take. And then when you don't know what path to take, instead of just taking one and going for it, you take none. And that's dangerous. That's how you end up 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight the older you get. When you keep getting overwhelmed because you haven't been reaching out for help and clarifying things. When you gain clarity, when you can objectively look at the facts and know what you have to fix, all anxiety goes away. And it's a great, great, great feeling. Martha says she doesn't feel her age. It's just a number. That is amazing. I love that. I love it. Yeah. Cher. There you go. Cher looks like she's 50 years old. And I think is she almost 80? Is she 80? I don't know. She's getting up there. She's crazy. Angela says she doesn't tell people her age, not because I'm embarrassed, but because they wouldn't believe me. See, that's good. I like that. Jennifer Lopez, that's another great example. Look at her. Look at her body. And really cool about Jennifer Lopez, ladies, look at her older photos. Look at her when she was Jenny from the Block and she was young. She wasn't as muscular as she is now. Have you guys noticed that? Have you seen that? Go look at, when we're off this call, go look at old pictures of Jennifer Lopez. She's more muscular, more fit now than she was back then. You can see more definition and more lines and more abs than back then. So what does that tell you? It doesn't matter when you start. It just matters that you have to start and you can reach your goal despite your age. Okay? You can get better with age. You're like a fine wine, ladies. Okay? Let's see what else is everybody saying. Okay, so that's about all the questions and the comments. I want to leave you with one little sentiment, okay? And if you guys have any questions while I'm talking, you can just put in the comments. But basically, I want to ask you in one word, okay? So think one word. In one word, what is holding you back from living the healthiest life possible? In one word. It's hard. Not 2 words, 1 word. What do you think it is? Social life, lack of sleep, laziness. Oh, a couple people got the right answer. Okay, so whatever your word was, okay, I want you to take into consideration that is not the reason. Whatever your word was, replace every excuse, replace everything you think is against you, everything you think is stopping you. Take that finger pointing at those things and turn it around on yourself. The only reason you're not living the healthiest life possible is because of you. Because of you. Your habits, your routine, the life you've built, the career you've chosen, the decisions you make every day have taken you to this point. So if you're not where you want to be, you have to take responsibility. You have to restore responsibility in yourself. Stop playing the blame game. It's not your environment. It's not your friend. It's not your family. It is you. If I'm not where I want to be, it's my fault. And now what happens when you do that? You stop giving everything else in your life control. Why are you letting your period control you, saying you have cravings? Why does your period control you? Why are you letting birthday parties control you? Why are you letting your husband eating poorly control you? These things, these people shouldn't have power over you. Why are you giving them so much credit? Think of the person you love the most in this world. Think of the person that you love the most in this world and you want the best for. Would you want them making excuses? Would you want them playing a victim and blaming everything else for their predicament? What would you tell them? And oftentimes, the advice we need to hear the most is the advice that we would tell the person we love, right? Because so often we speak so poorly to ourselves, but if we just think to ourselves, would I say that about my best friend? No. So why do you say it about yourself? So really audit how you talk, how you think, your thought processes. Turn the finger always on you. If your boss kept you late, say, oh, that was me. It was my fault that I didn't set boundaries and I didn't say I had to leave. Okay, if your social life is getting you down, drinks with the girls, barbecues, picnics, parties, okay? It's not their fault that they keep wanting to party. It's not their fault that they want to have fun and drink and don't care. It's your fault that you are not creating a routine in your life to be able to resist in those moments or to be able to decrease those moments. Always turn the finger back at you. That is the most powerful thing you can ever do in life, because you have control over absolutely nothing that happens to you in this lifetime. You don't, but you have control over the decisions you make and the reactions you have. That is it, ladies. The decisions you make and how you react to everything. That's the only thing we can ever control. We can't change our past. We can't predict our future, but we can change what we do right now. We can change every decision we make. Every decision you make is either fighting or feeding disease, fighting or feeding happiness, fighting or feeding your goals. Okay, every decision. So every time you make a decision, every time you're unhappy with the way the decision played out, don't say it's that person's fault, it's this fault, it was this time. It's always your fault. You take the blame back on you. Okay, and then that's when you get all the power back. Is that resonating with anybody? Comment your revelations in the comments, please. Comment your revelations so we can remember them, okay? And it's so freeing. It's so freeing. And I do this so often that even when Ryan does something that pisses me off, or I get into a fight with a friend, I go, whoop, what did I do wrong? And I don't care, because here's the thing, guys. It's not about being right. It's not about being wrong. It's about doing what's right. It's not about being right. It's about doing what's right. And sometimes what's doing what's right is the harder decision. Sometimes what's doing the right thing is often checking your ego and admitting you're wrong, because it's for the greater good, right? So this is something you can practice in fitness, in your healthy habits, in your nutrition, right? It's not about being right. It's not about being right. It's about doing what's right. It's about accepting that you're going to make mistakes. It's okay to be called out on those mistakes, and you're going to do better next time because you're going to do what's right. What's right, not to be right. Okay? So, moral of the story here, it's not about being right and wrong, right? And if you think that way, you need your ego checked. You need to look at your ego, right? Do you become defensive easily? Do you get offended easily? Those are signs that you do not have control over your emotions. Do you react instead of respond? Are you a very reactive person? You need to change that and become responsive, because responsive signifies that you've listened, you've analyzed, and then you share instead of reacting defensively or getting offended. So you have to restore responsibility. I hate the feeling of not having any power. I hate the feeling of not being in control. Like, I am a control freak. I don't like to drink very much. I don't smoke weed. I don't like doing that stuff, not because I disapprove of it, but because I don't like being out of control. And life you're always out of control. But the one thing I can control in my life, and the one thing that can give me peace of mind when I go to sleep and lets me sleep and have wonderful, happy dreams, is that I am in control of my emotions, my reactions, and my decisions. I'm in control of my situation in life right now. Okay, Ryan can't make me do anything. Ryan can't force me to make bad decisions or good decisions. My family can't. Okay, my environment can't. Only myself. I take back that power. So, ladies, in your life, I want you to take back your power, okay? Comment in the comment section. Where is one area of your life that you can take back power? So Marta, Mackie, Carla, Nancy, Martha, Angela, Sherry, Jessica, Rose, comment. What is one area in your life that you can take back control? Carlina, Casey, Tej, Saman, Tiff, Samantha, Andrea, Minahil, Nisha. One area you can take back control, ladies. We're going to implement the knowledge we learned. Emotional. Yes, Casey. Take back the emotions. Doing things for me. Yes. Be selfish, Angela. Be selfish. Selfish is not a bad word. I put my oxygen mask on before anybody else's. If I wasn't happy, if I didn't be selfish, I would have nothing to give to you ladies. I would have nothing. And not just energy-wise, motivation and experience wise. How can I expect you to do something if I can't do it myself? A coach can only bring their clients up to their level. So if I'm level whatever 80, I can only bring you up to level 80 unless I take back control and power, and I'm always climbing. So you guys, I'm always reaching. So that means you are never going to stop growing. That's the sign of a good coach. Nietzsche said commitment. Take back commitment. Rose says time for me. Me time is so important. That's what you need. How can you give if you haven't given to yourself first? It's like being in a relationship, right? It's give and take. And if you're not given anything, people just keep taking. And it becomes very exhausting to just being taken from. Is anybody tired of just being taken and keep giving, but not really having anything left for themselves, right? Nancy says self-care. Mina Hale says time and emotion. Yes, I find a lot of women need to take back control of their emotions, okay? Especially because we are more emotional. We have more hormones that evoke emotion. It's more socially acceptable for us to be emotional, right? People expect us to be emotional, right? You're emotional. Someone's like, oh, she's on her period. Like that's been ingrained in us, right? It's not fair, but it's been ingrained in us. So what did we do? We subconsciously played along. And now we identify ourselves as someone who's emotional, and that's not fair. And you're not doing yourselves any favors by considering yourself, oh, I'm just really sensitive, I'm emotional. Oh, that's just how I react in those situations. No, there's no such thing as just. Everything can change. The one constant in life, the only thing you can ever rely on in life is that things will change, okay? What else we got? Commitment, social life, and night sleep. Exactly. Take back control. If you don't have a good night's sleep, you can't work out properly. You can't make clear decisions as to eating properly, right? You can't manage your stress properly. You can't have healthy relationships if you're tired. Every area suffers. Sherry says, always giving in. Take back control. You are worth fighting for. You are worth trying again. So what if you fall off? So what if you freaking fail? Get over it. It happens. Everybody goes through it. I still go through it. Why do you keep giving up? You are worth trying again. Even if you're tired and frustrated and want to give up, you are worth trying one more time. And then you fail again, you're worth it one more time. And that cycle never ends. Marta says, I always correct people when they pull the period card. Yes. So this is like a really deep call. It's kind of a little bit away from exercise and nutrition, and it goes into just healthy living as a whole and your mentality. I think women are we're dealt a really shit card. So are a lot of people, but women in specifically, we hold ourselves back. You know, it's hard enough in society as it is being a woman. And then it's even harder when we hold ourselves back, right? We don't love each other. We're mean to each other. We're catty. We're bitchy. We're bossy. We're emotional. All these horrible adjectives that we're associated with. Some of them true, some of them not. But that's up to you to recognize which ones are true, which ones you need to work on, and which ones you need to break free of the identity, right? And something really, really powerful. I used to, and maybe you guys were in the same boat. When I was younger in my later teens, I used to look for catcalls. I used to want to be noticed. I used to want to get a comment when I walked on the street. Was anybody had that mindset when they were younger? Like they looked for that. That excited me. That let me know that I looked good, and then I felt good because of it. And I validated myself. I was looking for validation by my physical appearance. And then the older I got, the more that disgusted me and really upset me. Like so much so that if it happens now, I'll go up to the person who did it and I'll say, why did you do that? Do you understand what you're doing? Like, I don't even get mad. I want to break this cycle, right? It goes the same. There's cycle with your diets you have to break. There's cycles with your exercise routine you have to break, with your mindset you have to break. And then on top of that, how can you take everything that you've learned and this new person you've evolved into, how can you take that evolved person and show it to the world to help those in your life evolve too? That's the ultimate test. That's kind of like the next level on the level, right? So that's just a little thought that just popped into my head. Thank you for listening, ladies. This was a really cool one. I like that we get to branch off into different areas. Okay. This really, really is just like expanding our minds. Like we are leveling up in all areas. And I hope you understand that and can appreciate that. This is not just a diet and a workout plan to follow. Okay. If you think it is, you're mistaken. And if you think that's all it takes, you're mistaken.